So welcome to From the Executive Director's Desk at Back Bay Mission, and we are grateful to have you here in our food pantry today. And I'm here with Andrew, who is a pastor who is down here with his church doing a mission trip, or a camping trip. I kind of prefer to call them missions sometimes.
Sure,
word, right?
Camping trip, that sounds good.
So Andrew Peck is the senior minister, and you're going to be flying out tomorrow, right? So you're here a few days.
Yes.
Okay, because you have to go back and preach?
Yes.
What are you preaching on, do you know?
On Sunday?
Yeah.
I mean, I do know, yes.
Yeah.
I'm concluding a series on Ephesians, so I'm preaching from chapter 6 of Ephesians, and I'm talking about the famous scriptures about the breastplate and the armor of God,
really?
and putting all that on.
Are you having a little drawing of the dude in the breastplate and the armor and all that?
Well, I'm foregoing that and talking about how it's actually about, not the military imagery is actually used to talk about peace instead.
So you're not
read
singing,
the scripture.
You're not singing "Our Christian Soldiers"?
No, we discussed that. You know, my music minister said, "Do you want to do that?" I said, "No." I said, "Okay, good."
Good. That was the song they said. Gosh, when I moved to Chicago with my aunt and uncle, that was the song the church ended with every Sunday at Lutheran Church.
Every Sunday.
It's kind of the weirdest thing ever. So,
that's a lot.
Andrew, thank you for saying yes to being interviewed. Andrew's been helping out in our food pantry here. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, you kind of said you were brought to tears a few times, or almost brought to tears?
Yeah, it's been a great morning. First off, it's an incredible ministry that you all have down here. And our church has been involved with Back Bay for a long time. So to be with the people today was incredible. The politeness, the kindness, the gratitude, and the humility that everyone that came through this door had today. And of course, being from Ohio, we don't do the sir and ma'am thing so much. So the southern polite speech, I do appreciate. And so everyone was so kind. And even just as they walked out, and I would always say, God bless you, and they say, God bless you too, and just touched me. And then there's one gentleman, as we were walking out, I helped him to his car, and he said that he was a veteran, done 9 tours of duty, and we chatted a little bit. And then when I told him I was a pastor, he just was so overjoyed and said, keep doing your work. As if what he had done in the service he had done, he was injured and whatnot, didn't mean as much as what pastors did. So that one stuck with me.
That's beautiful. I should be calling you either Mr. Peck or Mr. Andrew then. I forget that, right? Good Southern
That's right.
sensibilities.
Mr. Peck's, I was called often.
Yeah.
When I lived in Memphis.
Yeah. So again, you had shared that you had some youth down here a number of years ago, and you had one of the youth by the name of Grace, I believe.
Yes.
That the mission impacted her, or the work that we do impacted. Can you say a little bit about that?
It did, sure. So in 2014, 9 years ago, we came down with a group of youth. I think we had about 12 or 13 high schoolers and 4 or 5 adults. And one of our members, Grace Foltz, was about 14 or 15 herself at the time. And she came down here, and she was deeply impacted by the work that we did. And she recognized the need in the community here, but then also, when she went back to Ohio, felt that there was something else she could do there. So after she graduated high school, she became a student at Bowling Green State in Ohio, had to do a creative service project, and came to Trinity and said, hey, I want to create a food pantry right here, but it's accessible to anyone at all times out in front of our church. So the Graceful Giving, for her name Grace, food pantry was established in 2020, the very beginning of 2020, right before the shutdown and pandemic. So it became even more important after she did it.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of like a free library set up, like you've seen around, but with just food. And we advertise it to the public, and anyone can come in at any time, take what they need, take off, and then we restock it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Do you have other people come and restock it, or is it?
We do. And in fact,
I've seen that happen.
What I love about Trinity is there's many quiet servants that have means, and they're very generous with those means. So we have one couple that comes and they bring us grocery carts of donations every 2 weeks. And they don't want anyone to, I said, can I put you in the newsletter? No, don't put us in there. We just do this because we have to do it. We can, and we hope that someone would do that for us if we ever end up food insecure. So those two are amazing, and they keep Graceful Giving stocked. And others do too, but they're the big force behind it.
Meredith, who runs our Client Choice Food Pantry, shares the story of an individual that she provided food for a number of times. And then one day she returned, and Meredith went out and said, well, we're not really open today, but if you come back tomorrow. And she said, oh no, I have something to give you. And she opened her trunk and had probably several $100s worth of food there. And she said, I'm giving back because now I've got a job. You helped me through a tough spot. Right? And that's the kind of, that's what's important. I think people don't realize how important food pantries are, because You know, if you can get a sack of groceries that nowadays costs 100, 150 bucks,
no kidding.
It relieves your electric bill, your energy bill, your rent, your mortgage, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you're underemployed, unemployed, or what have you. So appreciate your time here. Any other reflections about the work that you do back in your home congregation, in your home state?
Well, the generosity of the people at Trinity is pretty amazing to me, like I said, and one of the things that I've loved, and we've kind of come away from this, COVID sort of messing things up, but
Sure did.
that's understatement of the year, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love is we focused our attention. We adopted a school, essentially, a school in an impoverished neighborhood, and we did multiple things with this school. It was called the Mad Yutz School, or Yutz Academy now. And so we did reading days, so we'd go in and read to the fourth graders. A bunch of volunteers would come in. We did a Christmas Santa's workshop every year, where the kids who can't afford to have gifts for their family get a point system based on their academics, now their money. And at the end of the year, we bought 1,000 different items and set up a whole, kind of like this, we walked around with them. But what I loved about it, I mean, I loved helping the kids, I was always there, but what I loved was a whole number of volunteers. Some of the older folks who have never gone to that neighborhood of Northeast Canton and were afraid of it, were there with smiles on their faces, like, you know what this kid said, and I talked to this kid about his sister. The connection, the way that their hearts were being changed by meeting with people that they had pitied in the past. They had pitied them, or they had been afraid of them, and suddenly they're like, oh, these are just beautiful children without means that I had. I'm now going to help them out. So that's what did it for me when I saw the reactions of my church members at that school. And so focusing our efforts on one place, and so our food, we also have a separate food pantry that goes to that school still. They haven't let us in the school because of COVID and whatnot without masks, so we're trying to get back to that. But anyway, what I want to say is just the ability to focus our attention, even though we could help 1 million people and there's so many, we're doing what we could for this community, and it was great.
So lessons learned today from the conversation with you is number one, you really value and appreciate the generosity of your folks at Trinity.
Absolutely.
Which is beautiful. And you see their generosity without asking for anything in return. Number two is somebody was powerfully impacted, Grace, right? To give back in her own community.
Yes.
And the other thing I heard you say is like people that we other, when we get involved, we hear their story, we interact, we're face to face, they become us and we become them. And we become community together, right? We become village.
Yes. I was getting there, but you said that very well. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I like to say that a lot, because I try to remind people wherever we're at that, you know, because the homeless folks, they stand on the corners, or unsheltered folks with their signs, right?
Yeah.
People look the other way. Sometimes people give them money, sometimes not. But we're uncomfortable with that which we don't know. And so I think that's really, really important for that message to be heard. You know, no matter how many people listen to this, is that we are them, they are us, and we're in this together. Yeah. And I thought, you mentioned COVID, I thought COVID was going to teach us a bit more of that, and that we would come out of COVID realizing, hey, we're one big, huge community on this whirling ball, right? And we have to support and love each other, but we're still divided. So where do we find those places where we come together and do work together and love together and care together? By the way, my sermon this Sunday, which I'm doing in Metairie, Louisiana, is God is a Black Woman. So
I love that.
I haven't had the chance to really preach on that, although I've alluded to it in several different moments. But to me, growing up in northern Mississippi, and one of my go-to persons was my Auntie Annabelle, who always loved me no matter what, and embraced me no matter what. And then this other individual that was a Black woman who took care of a white family's kids, 3 kids, right? She was my other go-to when my dad was mean, or dad would say things I didn't like or would hurt me. I'd go and I'd kind of hang out with her. She'd kind of carry me in her arms and she'd say, oh, Jimmy, you're loved. Your daddy just doesn't understand, you know? But that's, for me, my image of God is very much what Velda was. To me, when I was just a wee child, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, until I moved away from there. And so we hold these images of the divine, and for me, I can see the divine in you, I can see the divine in you, and I can see the divine in the guy behind the camera, right? Because we are the image of God, and we possess and contain that spirit. So, even in the food that we eat, I mean, that's the spirit and breath of God's there. So, thank you for your time, and thank you for your energy, and thank you for being here and being willing to to kind of talk to us. So
You're welcome.
stay in touch, and let's continue the good work back in Ohio. And
Sounds
here.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we give a shout out to Pastor Andrew and to Mr. Andrew, I should say, or Mr. Peck, and to his ministry and to his congregation and the folks he brought here, or that brought him, right? Either way,
Yeah, that's
we bring
right.
each other on the journey. So thank you everybody for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.